What up, everybody? Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. You know. There I am. Alright, cool. Just making sure everything's copacetic here. The world's first viewer-curated streaming news show, and don't forget the podcast starts tomorrow. I've had a weird loopy day so far. What's up, Paris? How are you? What's up, Goldilocks? Good to see ya. Thank you guys for coming on. Howdy, howdy, DC. I missed you last night, buddy. I missed you last night. Got another fun show Saturday if you're not doing anything. Good morning, JoJo. Good morning, Susan. Good morning, Matthew. Good morning, everybody. What's up, Jordan? Good to see you again. Thanks for being here. What's up, Karen? So on my end, it says only 2 people are watching, but there's more of you saying hey in the chat. So obviously I got a little lag. On the way to Maui. Ooh. Have fun. I'll see you when you get back. What's up, Daniel? What's up, Osito? What's up, David? What's up, Rec? Good morning, guys. What's up, Chris? We got 25. Thanks for the update, guys. We are about 5 people away. By the way, quick shout out before we formally start. For anybody that doesn't remember, yesterday on the stream, or if you weren't on the stream yesterday, Kate accidentally gave me $300 when she meant to give me $3. So she made a mistake. She accidentally gave 3, which please be careful with your zeros. I really much appreciate your guys' super chat contributions, but please be careful with your zeros. And don't worry about Kate. Everything's fine. Like, she doesn't have to worry about anything bouncing with her bank. And if she can't get it back via her bank, you know, we're going to make even. I'm going to monitor it. And once it comes in, I'm going to, you know, PayPal the refund back to her. So there's no worries there. She's totally fine. But I wanted to give a quick shout out because someone in the chat at the very end of the show, and I forget who it was, but someone at the very end, after I'd already signed off, said, Kate, would you mind PayPaling me $3? And it made me laugh out loud. It was pretty funny. And again, Kate's totally fine. She laughed about it. She's in on the joke. So, you know, don't worry. It's not like we're having a laugh at her expense or anything. Everything's going to be sorted out just fine. But it was pretty freaking funny, and it made me laugh out loud. So I forget who did it, but if you're here, shout out, because that was pretty freaking funny. Howdy, howdy, everybody. We are over 30 people. Good to see everybody. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. Little bit of housekeeping at first here. The podcast is coming out tomorrow. The first Get Your News On with Ron podcast is coming out tomorrow. And shout out to anybody who made it to last night's show at the dojo. Long Beach, I saw you there. It was awesome to see you. I didn't see you leave. You kind of Irish goodbyed. You did not say goodbye to me, and that's okay. I get it. It's all good, but thank you for coming out. And I'm glad you had a good time. It was a super, 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 super fun show. And the next one is on August 30th for everybody in LA. And also for anybody in LA, I got shows this weekend. Friday night, I'm going to be on the live Jimmy Dore show. That show's already sold out. So, you know, if you don't already have tickets, I don't know if I'll be seeing you there. But if you do have tickets, I'll see you on Friday at Flappers Comedy Club for the live Jimmy Dore show. And Abby Martin's going to be there, too. Going to be a fun time. Also, Saturday night at the Henson Brewery in Burbank, California, I'm on a really fun comedy/party/music extravaganza. Henson Brewery is this kind of like pseudo outdoor brewery. They got a little garage thing. It opens, and we are going to have a bluegrass band playing first. Then we're gonna have a comedy show. Graham Elwood is on that show too. A bunch of other people are going to be there. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're in the area, and that show's completely free, by the way. So if you're in the area, come out to Burbank on Saturday night. And for those of you that already do have tickets, I will see you Friday night at the Jimmy Dore show. So fun weekend of comedy in Los Angeles. Yeah, what up, what up, what up? So I'm a little woozy, guys. I woke up early today. because I did a taping for the RT show Crosstalk, a show I enjoy very much. And Peter Lavelle is the host of that, and Peter is awesome. We don't agree on every single issue, but Peter is a good thinker, a good academic, and he hosts a good show where I really like the way we have conversations on that show. And the topic today was the DSA, and I was on the panel along with 3 conservatives. So I was the only person on the left, and we talked about the DSA, and basically what their messaging is, and so forth. And so I was, of course, the only one with my point of view. And it was fun. I kind of like being a lone shark and at a table for one. I know some people don't like it, but I like it. So, in any way, the reason I bring that up, and look out for that, it should be dropping soon. But the reason I bring that up is because it kind of brought me to today's question. That I wanted to kind of pose to you guys right away here. Because this was brought up on the show. And folks with a more conservative point of view, of course, have a different take on things than me. But nonetheless, I tried to make this differential because the issue of identity politics came up. And what I said was, look, there is a world of difference between hijacking identity politics for dishonest means and addressing issues that different communities face. And what I mean by that is, of course, LGBT rights are completely important, and we have a long, long way to go. A long way to go. And I'm still learning and evolving just as everybody else is. And what I mean by that is, you know, I'm a straight white guy in America. You know, I want to learn and evolve from other people. And I have a lot of friends and colleagues in the LGBT community, and I learn from them every day, and I'm thankful for it. Issues of gender, issues of race, issues of racism. Of course, this is incredibly important in the contemporary United States. And of course, saying we have a long way to go is an understatement. We are seeing a rise of neo-Nazism in the United States, for crying out loud. However, there is a huge difference between that, what I just described, community issues and social issues, and hijacking identity politics for dishonest means. And what I mean by the latter, of course, is the Democratic establishment. I mean the establishment that says, oh, you don't like Hillary Clinton? Well, clearly you're a sexist. You don't like Kamala Harris? Well, you're a sexist and a racist. You know, you don't think Rachel Maddow's doing a good job right now? Well, you're a homophobe. That's hijacking identity politics for dishonest means. Because really, what all those players have in common, they are the establishment, and they're pushing the establishment agenda. But, you know, the Democratic establishment would love to wag their finger at you and make it out like you are just, you know, an ist, a sexist, a racist, a homophobe, whatever it may be. So, and to a lot on the more conservative end of things, and perhaps in the heartland, maybe. People don't see a difference between those two things. And I tried to break it down. I'm like, look, there's a big difference between the policy ideas of the DSA and hijacking identity politics the way the Democratic establishment does. Those are two completely different things. And I guess my question to you guys is, how do we really break down those differences for people that might not quite be on the left yet? How do we break down those differences? How do we explain that? While you guys are typing your answers, I'm going to see the articles you guys sent. Ooh, and we got some good ones already. We already got some freaking good ones. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give the first one a Get Your News On with Ron retweet, as well as go to it. and then I will hop back over and get to your all's answers. Give you guys some time to think and type. Right? Yeah. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Money? What do you mean? I think we show how we are consistent and the establishment is inconsistent. That's a cool point. I like that. That's a question I've been pondering for the last couple weeks, Daniel. We're gonna ponder it for a long time. This is not a simple. We're not gonna solve this today. It's definitely a thinking piece question. Piggybacking while not really holding those ideals to oneself. Yep. You can promote an agenda. Marcus says you can promote an agenda to help people from different backgrounds, but also promote policy substance. Not every issue is color, gender blind. Well, and I think there's a big connection between these policies that a lot of people like to overlook. There are a ton of connections between economic issues and race issues and gender issues and LGBT issues. There are a lot of connections there. And ask any gay person in more rural or maybe more conservative-leaning areas, it's still difficult for a lot of them to find jobs because of who they are. And that is terrible, and that is disgusting. But of course, that is connected to issues of income inequality and issues of injustice towards workers. Those are both connected issues. They go hand in hand. They intersect. I'd like to say diplomacy and communication, but we all know how that goes. I get it, Daniel. Those are, kind of just some buzzword, but it's true. Diplomacy and communication are key. And yeah, I know it's a cliche, but it's true. And the one common link to all those issues is a two-party system. Abso-freaking-lutely, Watson. And good luck with the dog. I hope you found the dog already. Watson lost his dog. Yeah. I mean, that's a hard question. And it's not like there's a simple answer, nor is there an answer that somebody can just straight up address in the chat right away. And then it's like, oh, we fixed it. It's a deep question. So, money in politics is always dangerous to progressive intent. Not is it only dangerous to... I think it is toxic and destructive to the utmost degree to progressive intent. But yeah, GB, I'm with you 100%. All right, so let's go to some of the articles. So we got a lot of them, and time is already fleeting. This is from David, and this is about our favorite employer, Amazon. Sarcasm slide. Amazon's recognition messes up, matches 28 lawmakers to mugshots. And running the entire test cost us $12.33, less than a large pizza. So the American Civil Liberties Union of Northern California said Thursday that in its new test of Amazon's facial recognition system known as Recognition, the software erroneously identified 28 members of Congress as people who have been arrested for a crime. The irony in all that is maybe those 28 members are people that should be arrested for something. Or maybe not. I don't know who the 28 members are, so I'm not, just an aside. According to Jake Snow, who is an ACLU attorney, the organization downloaded 25,000 mugshots from what he described as a public source. The ACLU then ran official photos to all 535 members of Congress through Recognition, and it ended up matching 28. Of those 28, it flagged 6 members of the Congressional Black Caucus, including John Lewis, a legendary African-American civil rights activist. Facial recognition historically has resulted in more false positives for African Americans. So Amazon's creepy Orwellian facial recognition software is flawed, to say the very least. And just via a simple test that cost less than $13, the ACLU exposed that. One of many reasons why we shouldn't be doing this in the first place, why Amazon shouldn't be doing this in the first place. But look at who Amazon is in bed with. The CIA, weapons contractors, distribution, food, a newspaper. Only thing left, healthcare, medicine distribution, pharmacy. Amazon is in bed. Jeff Bezos is in bed with all of those companies. The only thing left for him is water. And I guarantee we will see the day where he gets into something having to do with water. If he's not already, and we just don't know about it. That guy is, I mean, it is a straight-up Orwellian, emperor-esque, dictator-esque concentration of power. If you are Jeff Bezos, it doesn't matter who is president. It doesn't matter what the laws are. You are above all of them. That guy oversees about 50% or more of online commerce. He now owns Whole Foods. He owns a newspaper that's never seen a war it didn't like. He has contracts with the CIA. He has secret meetings with weapons contractors. And his facial recognition is flawed, to say the very least. And who do you think is going to be using that recognition? It's a scary company, guys. All right, let's move on. This is from Jordan. And we're going to get into the political season a bit here. Go ahead and give this a Get Your News On With Ron retweet. And we'll go to the article. Bernie Sanders endorses Abdul al-Sayed for Michigan governor. Over in Lansing, U.S. Senator Bernie Sanders, an independent out of Vermont, endorsed Democratic governor candidate Abdul al-Sayed in the Michigan governor's race. I am proud to endorse Dr. Abdul al-Sayed for governor of Michigan. As governor, Dr. al-Sayed will fight for a government in Lansing that represents all people and not just wealthy special interests. Under Abdul's leadership, Michigan can help the nation in guaranteeing health care for all through a Medicare for all single-payer type system. Tuition-free colleges and universities, a minimum wage of $15 per hour, and strong environmental protections. El-Sayed, who has embraced Sanders' ideas like single-payer health care and free college in his campaign, said in a statement he was honored to have Sanders' endorsement. Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm glad to see Bernie making more endorsements. I am glad to see that. Everything I know about al-Sayed so far, he seems like a good progressive. I'm not as read up on him as other people in the political arena, but so far I've not seen anything negative of him. It seems like he's got the right platform. It seems like he's doing the right work. Am I totally fluent in him? No. But what I've seen so far, it has been positive. And yeah, Bernie making endorsements is a strong and important thing for him to do, especially if those endorsements are progressives. What he's done for Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been a good thing. And same thing here. He needs to use his name and what he's built so far to kind of throw some weight around. And do I agree with Bernie on everything? No. Do I understand why he didn't just start a third party? Well, I understand some of the reasoning for it, but I really wish he would have. It's weird to me to see him trying to get people to join the same establishment that screwed him over. And we've had these discussions before on the show, and you know, I think the long term of it is he wants to run in 2020. Otherwise, I don't understand why he didn't just break ties with the Democratic establishment, because he has the leverage to do so. So I think at the very least he should be throwing his weight around for endorsements, and I, for one, am glad to see him doing that. So I'm glad he endorsed Abdul al-Sayed, and so far everything I've seen from that guy has been positive. Let's see if you guys are saying anything different. Platypus says, this is the largest super chat I've ever sent. Well, thank you. That's very kind. Ron, you have a heart of gold, and the world would be a better place if more people were like you. Thank you so much for everything you've taught me and for all the inspiration. That's very kind of you, Platypus, and thank you very, very much for everything. Let's see. GB points out, and I think you're referring to Bernie here, he doesn't want to be the man who destroyed the DNC, would be a villain in history. I do understand that perspective. I do understand the perspective where, to a lot of people, it would just seem like sour grapes if he did it. But you kind of gotta, I mean, if he did it right away, I mean, the fact that he didn't do it during the election, the fact that during the election he campaigned for Clinton and got behind Clinton, despite the fact that it hurt him politically. But he said, look, you know, Trump is that big of a villain. I feel like I could work with Hillary Clinton. Even though she could have picked, if she picked him for her VP pick, she'd be president right now. We all know that. But the fact that he didn't do that, I think that during Convergence, because keep in mind, that was a year later, if he would have said, look, I tried to play with the Democrats. I extended them an olive branch. I campaigned as hard as I could for Hillary. More of my voters got behind Hillary than Hillary voters got behind Obama. I did everything I could to play the establishment's game. I did a unity tour, and they thumbed their nose at everything I stand for and everything my supporters stand for policy-wise. They clearly have no interest in progressive policies. So I'm signing on with Convergence, because what's most important are these policies. I think if Bernie would have done that, it might have been successful. Do I know for sure? I don't know. I have no idea. None of us do, really. But I think it would have been. That's why I showed up in D.C. and pleaded with him to do it. I showed up to his office. I was there. So I think that would have worked. Watson says Bernie would be a hero who started third party in the 1800s. But, you know, I mean, it's too late now. I mean, now at this point, we're not going to see, you know, a viable new structure forming prior to 2020 at the very earliest. But, you know, I feel like we had a shot. We didn't take it. All right. But I'm glad he's throwing some endorsements out there. I am glad to see that. This is from Sam. Let me give this a retweet, then we'll go to the article itself. And this is about Andrew Cuomo. You know, we're having a big problem with all those Cuomo bros. You guys know all those Cuomo bros out there. Tom Perez, Hillary Clinton, all those Cuomo bros that screwed over Cynthia Nixon after they said they'd remain neutral. Remember that? All right. The margins are a little bad here. Let me see if I can fix that for you guys a little bit. Let's see here. There we go. All right. And then I'll make it a little smaller. There we go. Doing it live, folks. Doing it live. All right. Andrew Cuomo outright lied to his LGBT Democratic caucus, but got its endorsement anyway. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo blatantly lied twice on the questionnaire of an LGBTQ Democratic club whose endorsement he was seeking. In the application Cuomo filled out for the Stonewall Democratic Club of New York City, he wrongly claimed to have never endorsed members of the recently dissolved Independent Democratic Conference, a group of breakaway Democratic state senators who caucus with the Republican minority, or any candidate with a track record of working against LGBTQ equality. His claim that he never and would never endorse any member of the IDC or any candidate affiliated with the coalition is particularly absurd, given in his role in the creation of the IDC. Cuomo, who is currently facing a heated primary challenge from Cynthia Nixon, formally endorsed then IDC leader Jeff Kline. And it says, have you or would you in the future? And he answered no. He also lied about not backing a candidate with an anti-LGBT rights track record. In March, Cuomo opened his remarks at a gala with praise for the chair of the Bronx Democratic Party, Assemblyman Marcos Crespo, who voted against same-sex marriage the year it became law. When asked why Cuomo lied about his past support of IDC and anti-LGBTQ candidates, Abby Farshner, a spokesperson for Cuomo's campaign, said that he supports all Democratic members and pointed to his record on marriage equality. As we have said, the governor stands alongside Andrea Stewart-Cousins in supporting all members of the Senate Democratic Conference. If anyone threatens to defect from the Democratic Conference, he will be the first in line to oppose them. The governor is a national leader for LGBTQ rights, and his record of leadership making New York the first state to pass marriage equality speaks for itself. Nixon gave the same answers to the two questions, and Democratic critics argued that Nixon filing petitions with Jumaine Williams indicates they're running as a ticket, and Williams has previously said that he holds personal views against LGBTQ marriage and abortion, but supports both as legal rights for all when it comes down to policy. So I guess that's still out there, and, so I guess we're still waiting to see that part of it unfold. But nonetheless, Andrew Cuomo lied. And why did he lie? Because he openly is fine with going party above all else. And that's pretty much, in very flowery language, that's what his spokesperson said. That's exactly what they said. They said he supports the party over all else. He is blue no matter who. And there's some Democrats that are against the gay community, that are against a woman's right to choose. And they are still in the Democratic Party. Why? Because they support the establishment above all else. So it doesn't matter. So Andrew Cuomo's no different. I mean, Andrew Cuomo has proven himself an establishment insider through and through. He also claims to be a champion of the working people. On New Year's Day of January 2017, what's the first piece of policy he did? He screwed over the homeless in New York City. So, but he gets the endorsement anyway. So that's part of the problem with blue no matter who. When you go blue no matter who and people don't need to worry about getting an endorsement or not getting it, you're going to get people that are just straight up anti-LGBTQ, that are anti-choice. Why? Because what's the opposition? The opposition is completely fringe against that stuff. And again, this goes into the dance to the right. Republicans go further right, Democrats follow them to the right. Because they can, and because the establishment likes that. All right, thanks for sharing that. Andrew Cuomo has no integrity, and he's a liar. That's nothing new to any of us. All right, this is from Cappuccino Conservative. This looks kind of interesting. Let's see what's going on here. This is about Minnesota. A Minnesota man serving life for 2 murders runs for U.S. Senate. Inmate Leonard Richards is legally allowed to run for office, and he once received more than 14,500 votes for a congressional seat. A man serving a life sentence without parole after being convicted of 2 murders is running for a U.S. Senate seat. Leonard Richards, 75, was convicted of killing his half-sister, Mae Wilson, in 1982 and shooting dead his lawyer, Robert Stratton, in 1987. He is serving a life term in Stillwater Prison in Minnesota, where the law allows felons to run for federal office, but bars them from vying for a state-level office. The sister of Mr. Stratton told the Star Tribune newspaper that the Minnesota Secretary of State's office could not keep Richards off the ballot. She wants voters to be informed of Richards' history and intends to ask politicians to change the requirements. Burt Black, legal advisor for the Minnesota Secretary of State's office, said the courts have ruled that the agency cannot stop a prisoner from filing an affidavit of candidacy. The only valid... Okay, so basically he can do this. He previously ran in the Democratic primary for a congressional seat in 1992, receiving more than 14,500 votes. Richards subsequently ran in 94 and won more than 4,000 votes. And he's been in jail since 87. Or 82, excuse me. He's been in jail since 82. So this isn't his first time running for office. Wow. That's pretty interesting. And that's a weird thing you can do with the law, although I am 100% in support of felons being able to vote. And I'm certainly in support of other rights for felons because a lot of people are wrongfully accused in our system. That being said, are there some kind of weird loopholes here where somebody that is a convicted murderer, can run for office? Yeah, those are some kind of loopholes that, we may need to kind of create some type of policy that avoids an extreme loophole like that, while at the same time not creating a slippery slope. You know what I mean? Like, let's not get these blanket policies that strip away rights from people that should have them. On the same note, is it kind of bogus that a murderer is doing something like this? Sure. I don't think that's unreasonable. But hey, man, I guess... I guess if you're in jail a bunch, that is something you could do. I mean, I have a feeling this guy is not really going to garner a whole lot of attention, although he's gotten thousands of votes in the past. And yeah, I kind of think that that's a bit much. What are you guys saying in the chat? This is something I want to hear your thoughts on. Jordan points out something I was thinking too. He does have a lot of free time. Cool. Well, that's interesting. Man, we got a lot of stuff today. This is from DC. Let me go ahead and give it a Get Your News On With Ron retweet. Oh wait, let me go to the article. I'm forgetting the new protocol here as it's still relatively new. Look at that. Cannabis-based medicines get green light as UK eases rules. Okay, finally some actual good news. Relaxation of laws means doctors will be able to prescribe medicinal cannabis. Doctors in the UK can prescribe cannabis-delivered medicine after the government announced a relaxation of laws governing access to the substance. Thousands of people with drug-resistant conditions will potentially be able to use cannabis-derived medicinal products for treatment after the Home Secretary, Saeed Jaid, announced they should be placed in Schedule 2 of the 2001 Misuse of Drug Regulations, allowing clinicians to prescribe them by autumn. Cannabis has been classed as a Schedule 1 drug, meaning it is thought to have no therapeutic value and cannot be lawfully possessed or prescribed. This is the result of a large propaganda campaign, arguably the most successful one ever, at least in the United States. One of the most successful propaganda campaigns ever, the drug war. It may be required for the purpose of research, but a Home Office license is required. The move by the Home Secretary comes after the government's official drug advisors and the Chief Medical Officer for England separately concluded there was evidence of therapeutic benefit for some conditions. So we're making baby steps. This is more proof that we're making baby steps. Obviously, the stigma surrounding pot is completely misguided, scientifically false. It does have medical benefits. It does have other benefits as well. And it's just based on a long-time propaganda war. And we still have politicians that are completely out of touch, especially here in the United States. Chelsea Clinton, she's not convinced on pot. She's not convinced on it. John Boehner's convinced because he has financial ties to it. So really, it's just corruption as usual. And why is that? Because the pharmaceutical industry has a strong hold. Now, in other countries where you don't have the pharmaceutical corruption, at least not to the level that we have here, you'll evolve on these types of things faster. And over in the UK, they don't quite have the corruption that we have here when it comes to pharmaceutical corruption. Nowhere close, as a matter of fact. So they're likely to go quicker on cannabis-based medicines because their intention is more to heal and to be effective, because they don't have that for-profit healthcare system that we have, or that price gouging, evergreening pharmaceutical industry that we have. Thanks for sharing that, DC. Much appreciated. This is from Jesse. This looks kind of interesting. I'm excited to see what this is about. There's 8 myths that we're going to dive into here. So here's what's going on here. American society would collapse if it weren't for these 8 myths. So let's see what the 8 myths are, shall we? This is from Lee. Lee Camp. Our society should have collapsed by now, he says. So what are the 8 myths? Myth number 8, we have a democracy. If you think we still have a democracy or a democratic republic, ask yourself this. When was the last time Congress did something that the people of America supported that did not align with corporate interests? You probably can't do it. And there are some studies that not only say we're an oligarchy, but also that public opinion is not only not considered when our government makes policies, but it is actually they do the opposite of it. There are Harvard and Princeton studies that back both those things up. Myth number 7, we have an accountable and legitimate voting system. We don't. Voter suppression, gerrymandering, voter purging, data mining, broken exit polling, superdelegates, push polling, electoral votes, the electoral college, black box machine. The list goes on and on. Third parties vanished. Lee named some of them. I named some more. It's not... Lee cites a Harvard study here that calls us the worst election system in the Western world. Well, here in the United States, we always like to be number 1 in something. Myth number 6, we have an independent media that keeps the rulers accountable. Well, I would say maybe, and maybe this is just me nitpicking verbiage here, I would say we have an independent media that does it. What we don't have is a corporate media that does it. And that's what he's referring to here. Our media outlets are funded by weapons contractors, big pharma, big banks, big oil, and big fat hard-on pills. The corporate media's jobs are to rally for war, cheer for Wall Street, and froth at the mouth for consumerism. It's their mission to actually fortify belief in the myths I'm telling you about right now. He's absolutely right. I would just substitute that independent media with corporate. Because I would say this statement in and of itself, we do have an independent media that calls the powers that be out. However, they're not the main media. They're the more marginalized voices. But that's just a verbiage, nitpicky thing. Still, basically, the myth that we have a mass media that holds any powers to be accountable is, in fact, that, a myth. Myth number 5, we have an independent judiciary. The criminal justice system has become a weapon wielded by the corporate state. That's why we have for-profit prisons, bankers, etc., etc. And Lee goes on to explain this. This is how bankers can foreclose on millions of homes illegally and see no jail time. But activists often serve jail time for non-violent civil disobedience. Myth number 4, the police are here to protect you. They're your friends. That's funny. I don't recall my friend pressuring me into sex to get out of a speeding ticket, which is essentially still legal in 32 states. The police in our country are primarily designed to do 2 things: protect the property of the rich and perpetuate the completely immoral war on drugs. That's a great summary of what law enforcement is. Myth number 3, buying will make you happy. Excessive consumerism. The politics of I. The Power of Nightmares, a BBC documentary I recommend all of you watch. But let's see what Lee says about this. This myth is put forward mainly by the floods of advertising we take in, but also by our social engineering. Most of us feel a tenacious emptiness and alienation deep down behind our surface emotions. For a while, I thought it was gas. That uneasiness is because most of us are flushing away our lives with jobs we hate. So we can consume, basically, is what he's saying here. And he's absolutely right. Our consumerism is unhealthy. And, full disclaimer, this is coming from a guy who has definitely splurged a little bit at a vinyl shop to make himself feel better. And, in the short term, it works out. So, there's a difference between recognizing unhealthy consumerism, but also recognizing occasionally treating yourself's not a bad thing. Myth number 2, if you work hard, things will get better. According to Deloitte's Shift Index survey, 80% of people are dissatisfied with their jobs. The average person spends 990,000 hours at work over their lifetime. It's too much. That's about 1/7 of your life, and most of it is during your most productive years. Ask yourself, what are you working for? To make money? For what? Almost none of us are doing jobs for survival anymore. Once upon a time, jobs boil down to I plant the food, I eat the food. If I don't plant the food, I die. But nowadays, if you work at a cafe, will someone die if they don't get their super latte? If we really wanted to, we could get rid of most work and have more hours to enjoy our lives, but we're not doing that. Because we're all just temporary, embarrassed millionaires, right? And he's absolutely right. I mean, we do need to prepare for a society with less jobs. But we really don't have that. And people aren't talking about it. And the final myth, you are free. And I'm not talking about the millions locked up in our prisons. I'm talking about you and me. If you think you are free, try running around with your nipples out, ladies. Guys, take a dump on the street and see how free you are. Well, I know what I'm going to do after this stream. I want to test out Lee's theory. No, I'm just kidding. I understand there are certain restrictions on freedom we actually desire to have in our society. Try building a fire in a parking lot to keep you warm. Try sleeping in your car for more than a few hours. Yeah, we live in more of a surveillance state than we realize. Lee's absolutely right. That's a cool myth. Cool myth. That's a cool list. Those are 8 pretty good myths. I recommend checking out the article in its entirety. Lee did a pretty good job there. I enjoy it very much. Good job, Lee. Let me go see what you guys are saying in the chat before we move on to the next thing. Freedom to buy more shit, Dwayne says. We don't need to prepare for a society with less jobs. It's easy to create jobs. It just isn't profitable. What we need is to detach the profit motive from important decisions. I agree with you to a degree. Don't you think we could do both, though? I do think we are heading to a more automation society. That's just the inevitability of the way technology is going. However, are there still tons of opportunities out there? Yes, we desperately need a Green New Deal. We desperately need infrastructure. We desperately need to have a more sustainable food agriculture. All of these things comes with a lot of jobs, and we need them. However, technology's coming, and we're going to need some automation. So I think we need to do both, Matthew. I don't think you're wrong. I just think that both Lee and yourself are right. I think we need to get ready for something like a UBI. I think it's a reality we're heading towards. But we need to figure out a way to do it in a manner that it doesn't lead to overinflation in rent and stuff like that. And we need to do it in a way that it doesn't lead to not having enough jobs. So I get what you're saying. I think you bring up a good point, but I really do think that both are true. There's a lot more we could be doing for a jobs program. A lot more. However, we are going to be heading towards automation. That's the inevitability of it. So it is time for UBI. I think that both are true, and I think we need to simultaneously prepare for both. UBI is just a crutch for capitalism. I don't think it has to be that way. And I understand that point, but I don't think it has to be that way. I think it could fail and be that way, but I don't think it has to. And part of the reason I feel that way is because I'm adamantly against our work culture here in the United States. We, to really kind of oversimplify it a little bit, we work to live, or excuse me, we live to work instead of working to live. I oversimplified something and then still fucked it up, you guys. It's my Friday! But, yeah, I think that our work culture is pretty bad. There's few countries that are like ours. And I think if we got away from it, we would be a lot healthier. We would be a lot healthier as a nation, as a group. And I think we would totally see a different country for the better. And I think a UBI could really aid with something like that. Now, if the UBI is not implemented properly and it leads towards rent inflation and stuff like that, well, then it could lead to something bad. But I don't think it has to unfold that way. I think there's ways where we can unfold it so that it is a supplemental thing. It is a necessary safety net. It is a reflection of our failed neoliberalism, and it is a allocation of our resources to use our wealth for better things other than bombs. So, South Korea just changed from 68-hour work week to a 52-hour work week. That's insane. I was not aware of that. That is insane. So yeah, there are places even worse than us when it comes to work culture, but they're few and far between. You look at Europe and places like that. A lot of countries that have similar wealth to us, they have a much more healthy working environment. Denmark, Germany, Sweden, Norway, much healthier work environment than us. Because there's power to the people there. There's a lot more power to the people there. That's why. So... Prybite points out third-party move would be easier if Trump wins in 2020. I think that's possible because I think that, we're already at a point of crisis, but if he wins in 2020 and people aren't totally awake to the crisis that we're in, I don't know what, it's going to be too late, honestly. So yeah, I think that's true. Marcus, remember Roosevelt's Progressive Bull Moose Party? Off the top of my head, no, actually. I don't remember that verbiage, at least. But refresh my memory. Monorail, wind farms, solar farm buildings, hydro, Watson brings up. And yeah, those are all good examples of jobs we need. And let's see here. Marcus, what are 5 sustainable green jobs you want to invest in? All right. 5. Okay. Solar. I think we need to have mass investment in solar. And I think that, based on my exposure, which is limited, I'm not a sustainability professional. I don't pretend to be. But based on what reading I've done on my own and what exposure I have had, I think solar is a little further than wind as far as how we've been able to catapult it successfully and sustainably. So I think solar needs to be kind of the big elephant in the room. Wind's important too, but I think solar should maybe be a little more highly prioritized. I think we need to invest in infrastructure. And I think that would, fall under more sustainability other than green jobs. I would love to see an efficient nation rail system. And, people love to kind of be like, we couldn't have that. The United States is too big. Look, it's easy to imagine because we haven't tried it. It's easy to, kind of put it off because the oil and gas companies launch a bunch of propaganda around it. But the truth is, we used to have more extensive rail in this country. We could totally feasibly do it again. It would take time, it would take planning, it would take effort, but it's not impossible. We built the road systems, we can build the rail systems too. And I think an extensive, efficient railway for both consumers and users and transportation of goods would be an incredibly, incredibly good move. So that's another thing. Extensive rail / infrastructure of the roads. Those are we'll treat those as two different. because I think that's how big the extensive rail is. I would say extensive rail and roads and infrastructure in general. Our infrastructure is failing. Let's see. Water infrastructure, especially with all the destruction we're doing to water. I think we need to have a huge initiative to clean up our water and to make sure that everybody in every nook and cranny in this country has access to clean water. That's a no-brainer. So where are we at? I think that's 4, right? So solar as the big one. And then we'll go wind for the 5th. So solar, wind, extensive rail, water initiative, and infrastructure initiative. Those would be my 5 if those qualify as for the question you're asking. I know there's a ton more we could talk about, but just off the top of my head. Mr. Brokenaz, why don't you build a People's Party inside the Green Party? Decentralized party structure would allow for forming your entirely own national structure, but also have ballot access in 45 states. If you're asking me as an individual, my short answer is I'm not that powerful, man, and I'm not part of any actual party. I'm kind of an outsider. But if you're asking it as the broader you, I don't think people have written off that possibility. We have the conversations about green entering versus not green entering all the time. I do think from a marketing standpoint, a brand new party with Bernie Sanders' face on it would have been huge and would have really rattled some cages. That's why I supported it happening. It didn't happen. So now we're kind of back to the drawing board in many ways. There's a lot of Greens that are doing great work. Movement for a People's Party is doing great work too. There's even some people Dem entering that have some good ideas and are doing the right thing as far as what their platform is. Do I have some concerns that Dem entering is not going to work? Yes, I do. But, you know, we're still waiting to see all that unfold. And, yeah, so, you know, as far as strategy goes, I think the verdict's still out on a lot of things, and I certainly don't claim to have all the answers. Let's see. We got time for like one more, guys, and then we're going to be closing shop here. Sorry, Sorry, guys, I'm trying to be fair here and make sure I get to the right place, and I kind of lost my place on the timeline. You know what? I think maybe I should show the Reddit some love, too. So let me go over there, and maybe we'll just pick the last one for there since I lost my place on my timeline. Let's see. This is trippy. All right, so LBH, which Long Beach, I think that might be you. This is a fun one to end on for the week, I think. A mind-altering parasite spread by cats could give humans more courage and overcome fear of failure, research suggests. Okay, let's go into this, see what it's saying. I'm getting this from the Reddit. And you know what? Before we go into it, I'll go ahead and tweet that article out. So let me go tweet it real quick, and we'll go through it, and then we are totally out of time. And now my Twitter is loading really slow. All right, just gave it a Get Your News On with Ron tweet, and let's go to the article. Mind-altering parasite spread by cats could give humans more courage and overcome fear of failure, research suggests. A mind-altering parasite found in cat feces may give humans more courage and help them overcome their fear of failure, research has suggested. You know what? That's weird, because every time I clean my cat's litter box, I submit something to a TV show. I submit a stand-up clip to a different TV show. It's so weird. I thought that was just weird coincidence. Like, I just remember whenever I clean my cat's litter box, but it turns out her turds give me a fear. My fear of failure just disappears. Man, I've wondered why I do that. All right, let's go on. This is fun. According to the study, and I'm not disregarding the study, by the way. I'm just, having fun with it. According to the study, being infected by the organism Toxoplasma gondii may give an advantage to entrepreneurs and managers or comedians. Come on. The protozoan parasite, which is spread by cats, is known to invade the brain and may cause personality changes associated with risk-taking. So you know what they could have done for the TV show Breaking Bad? Instead of it just being like the dude had cancer, he could have just like fallen into a big vat of cat shit. Like maybe it was like just some big initiative by a new litter box initiative. They're like, we have a more efficient way to clean your cat shit. It gets sucked into this cat shit landfill, and then it happened, and this guy, maybe Walter White, happened to work for the company, and he got sucked into it and got covered in cat shit and was like, oh my God, what's going on? Wait, I'm not scared of anything. I'm going to go make meth. Because that was kind of a big theme in that show. Like his fear. I'm not spoiling anything, I don't think. Anyway, yeah. The latest research provides new evidence it may actually drive risk-taking in business. I need the entrepreneurial spirit and risk-taking in my world, so I'm going to make sure I never let my girlfriend clean a litter box, just to be safe. An analysis of saliva of almost 1,300 U.S. students showed this exposed to the parasites were 1.4 times more likely to be majoring in business. They were also 1.7 more times likely to be focusing on management and entrepreneurship. I don't know if that statistic is a big one because, I'll be totally honest here, and this is coming from somebody who has an undergraduate degree in business. A lot of times you major in business because you don't really know what you want to do. And I'm including myself, so, if there's any business majors, don't get mad at me. I'm pointing at myself here. Interesting. Well, I guess this is certainly an interesting study, and whether it has total merit or not, I'm cleaning my cat's litter box all the time now. I'm not, and I'm pointing to it. You guys can't tell, but my cat's litter box is right there. And Lucy, Lucy, I think you're sleeping in the other room, but Lucy, if you're listening, keep shitting. In fact, you know what? Let me get her. I'll get Lucy to say goodbye because this is our last episode for the week, guys. Because I'm doing the podcast on Friday now. We're going to be doing Mondays through Thursdays. That'll be a typical week for us. That also makes it easier to not miss episodes because most of my touring happens on the weekends. So, yeah. Awesome. All right. Let me go get Lucy so she can say goodbye, and then she can go shit for me so I can get courage. All right. Come on, Lucy. You have courage-inducing turds. Where are you? Oh, man. Where the hell did she go? I don't know where she is. I have the courage to go find her. Lucy. Lucy. There you are. There you are. Yeah, I know. I'm Lucy. My turds are full of courage. The science people said that my turds give you courage. I shit, you get courage. Worship me! Yeah! It's bad Lucy, but that's not what she would sound like at all. Thank you guys for being part of Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys tweet Ron an article and that's what he talks about. I love it. If you want to support this on the sustainable level, become a patron. I write a dialogue for the Patreon and you can read it too. That's patreon.com/romplacone. You can give at a pay what you can level. Meow, meow, meow. Join the Patreon. I love you all very much. Have a great week. This has been Get Your News On with Ron. She's like, my contract's up. You're not paying me enough for this. I love you all very much. Thank you for being part of this. Have an absolutely wonderful weekend. I will see you on Monday. This is me, Get Your News On with Ron, world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. We do this every Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And keep a lookout tomorrow for the first Get Your News On with Ron podcast. If you missed anything this week, I'm doing a little podcast summary now, so you can check that out. The theme song will be there, and I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts. So please try to give that a listen tomorrow if you can. I'll be posting it on Twitter and Facebook. Yeah. Have a great week.